The night sky burned red with fire. Explosions shook the ground, and smoke rolled across the ruined city like a black sea. Human soldiers shouted orders, their boots pounding on broken stone as they tried to retreat. Plasma shots from the alien enemy flashed through the air, cutting down anyone too slow. Amid the chaos, one man pushed forward instead of falling back. His name was Daniel, a soldier who had already seen too much death in this war. His heart pounded as he ran through the broken streets, searching for survivors. Buildings leaned half-destroyed, shadows shifting in every corner. The smell of blood and burned metal filled the air. Daniel stopped when he heard it, a soft, weak cry under the rubble. At first, he thought it was a wounded comrade. He shoved aside broken stones and metal beams with his bare hands. His palms bled, but he didn't. Stop! The cry grew louder. Then he saw her. She was not human, a young alien girl, barely older than a teenager in human years, lay trapped beneath a collapsed wall. Her skin glowed faintly blue in the firelight, her hair silver like threads of moonlight. She had long ears, and strange markings ran down her arms. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, her lips trembling as she whispered in her own language. Daniel froze. She was the enemy. His orders were clear: leave them to die. His unit would never forgive him if they found out he touched her, let alone saved her. But something inside him pushed against those orders. She wasn't holding a weapon. She wasn't a soldier. She was just a girl caught in the storm of war. Help me, she whispered, broken English slipping from her lips. Her voice was soft, almost too weak to hear. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked over his shoulder. The other soldiers were gone, retreating to safety. No one would know what he did here. He dropped his rifle and shoved harder at the rubble. Stones scraped his arms, dust filled his mouth, but he pulled until the heavy blocks shifted enough for her to move. She coughed, blood staining her lips, but her eyes glowing silver stared at him with shock. "Why?" she asked. Her accent was heavy, but the word was clear. Daniel didn't answer. He pulled her free and lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, her body trembling against his chest. He could feel her heartbeat, weak but alive. Gunfire cracked nearby. Soldiers were coming back through the street. If they saw him carrying her, it would be the end for both of them. His mind screamed at him to drop her, to run. But his legs moved on their own, carrying her into the shadows of a ruined building. He crouched low, holding her close as the soldiers passed by. Their voices echoed, "Check the rubble. Kill any alien scum still breathing." The alien girl buried her face in his chest, her breath warm against him. He could feel her fear, the way her small hands clutched his uniform. Daniel's heart hammered. He knew if anyone found them, they would shoot first and ask questions later. His whole career, maybe even his life, would be over. Still, he didn't let go. When the soldiers moved on, he carried her deeper into the ruins. Her voice broke the silence again. "You save me, human." "Why?" Daniel stopped in the shadows, his breath rough, his eyes scanning the burning horizon. He didn't know how to answer her. Maybe because he was tired of watching innocent lives burn. Maybe because, for the first time, he saw not an enemy, but someone who needed him. He placed her down gently against a wall and checked her wounds. Her leg was twisted, bleeding badly. He tore a piece of his uniform and wrapped it tight around the wound, pressing hard to stop the blood. She winced but didn't push him away. Her eyes never left his face. Strange eyes, glowing like stars, watching him with an intensity that made his chest heavy. She whispered something in her own tongue, then tried again in broken English. "Human, mine now." Daniel blinked, not sure he heard her right. Her voice was weak, but the way she said it carried something deeper. Before he could ask, distant. Footsteps echoed again, more soldiers. They were searching. Daniel grabbed his rifle with one hand and lifted her again with the other. She gasped in pain but wrapped her arms around his neck, clinging to him. "Quiet," he whispered. The two of them slipped through the ruins as the footsteps grew louder. His body trembled from exhaustion, but his grip on her only tightened. Alien girl's breathing slowed against him. Her hand pressed to his chest, right over his heart. Her glowing eyes looked into his, as if searching for something. "Why?" "Save me?" she asked again, softer this time. Daniel's throat went dry. He didn't have an answer. "Not yet." And then shouts erupted behind them. A patrol had spotted movement. Flashlights cut through the smoke. Daniel's heart slammed. There was no turning back now. He pulled her tighter against him and ran into the darkness, every step carrying them further away from safety and deeper into danger. Daniel's boots splashed through puddles of ash and blood as he ran through the ruined streets. The alien girl clung to him, her arms tight around his neck, her weak breath brushing against his ear. Behind them, shouts grew louder, lights flashing like hungry wolves searching the night. Every instinct told him to drop her to save himself. But his grip only tightened. He darted down an alley, slipped through a broken gate, and pressed his back against a wall. The girl trembled in his arms. Her glowing eyes searched his face, silently begging him not to let go. Daniel's chest burned. If the patrol caught him, they'd call him a traitor on the spot. No trial. Just a bullet in the head. He waited, barely breathing, as footsteps pounded past the gate. The voices of soldiers echoed in the smoke. "Check every ruin. No alien must survive." Daniel didn't move. He held her close until the voices faded into the distance. Only then did he push forward, moving fast through narrow passages until he reached the edge of the war zone. At last, his eyes landed on a half-collapsed building. Once it had been a shop. Now it was nothing more than cracked walls and shattered glass. Still, it was cover. Still, it was hope. He pushed through the broken doorway and lowered the girl onto an old mattress in the corner. Dust rose around them, choking the air, but at least they were hidden. The alien girl winced as her injured leg touched the mattress. She bit her lip, trying not to cry out. Daniel knelt beside her, his hands rough but careful as he checked the bandage he'd tied around her wound. Blood had seeped through, staining his uniform. "You'll bleed out if I don't fix this," he muttered. His voice sounded harsher than he meant, but his heart was racing too fast to soften it. Her eyes, those silver, glowing eyes, watched him with quiet intensity. Slowly, she spoke in her broken English. "You help me again." Daniel pulled out his knife and cut another strip of cloth from his uniform. He tightened the bandage, pressing down hard. She gasped, her hand flying to grip his wrist. Her skin was warm, soft, trembling. "Quiet," he whispered sharply. "They'll hear." She bit back the pain, but her hand didn't release his wrist. Instead, her fingers lingered there, as if drawing strength from his touch. Daniel tried to ignore the way her gaze burned into him. He focused on the wound, but he couldn't stop noticing the delicate patterns on her skin, blue markings that pulsed faintly with light. They weren't tattoos. They were alive. "What are you?" he whispered without thinking. Her lips curved faintly, though her face was pale with pain. "Royal blood," she murmured. Daniel froze. Royal? That explained the strange symbols, the glow. But it also meant more danger. If her people were looking for her, if the humans found out he had her, both sides would kill him. He sat back, running a hand through his dirt-streaked hair. "I should leave you," he said under his breath. "This is insane." The alien girl shook her head weakly. Her voice broke, but carried strange certainty. "No, human, you cannot. You saved me. Now we are bound." Daniel's stomach twisted. Bound? What did she mean? Before he could ask, footsteps sounded outside the ruin. A flashlight beam swept across the broken wall. Soldiers were near. Daniel grabbed his rifle and pressed a finger to his lips. The alien girl nodded, pulling the torn blanket over herself, hiding her glow. Her breathing slowed as if she was trying to make herself invisible. The beam of light passed once, twice. Then a soldier's voice called out, "Check in here." Daniel's heart leapt into his throat. The door creaked open. A soldier stepped inside, scanning the shadows. His rifle glinted in the dim light. Daniel moved fast, pressing himself against the wall, hidden behind a broken shelf. The alien girl's eyes widened in fear, but she didn't make a sound. The soldier's boots crunched on glass as he swept the light across the room. For one terrible second, it hovered near the mattress. Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle. If the soldier pulled the blanket back, it would all be over. But then, "Empty," the soldier muttered. He turned and left, the door creaking shut. Behind him, Daniel exhaled slowly, his whole body shaking. He looked at the alien girl. She was trembling too, but her eyes met his with something stronger than fear. "Trust. You risk." "All for me," she whispered when the danger passed. Daniel rubbed his face with one hand, frustration boiling inside him. "I don't even know your name," he said. She blinked slowly, then whispered, "Lyra." The name hung in the silence between them. Daniel leaned back against the wall, exhaustion crashing over him. He knew he'd crossed a line he could never return from. Hiding her was betrayal. Keeping her alive was a crime. And yet, looking into those glowing eyes, he couldn't imagine handing her over. Outside, the war raged on. But inside the ruined shelter, something had begun between them, and Daniel feared it was something he could never escape. The ruined shelter was quiet now, but Daniel's nerves refused to calm. Every sound outside, the crack of a distant rifle, the rattle of falling stones, felt like danger coming closer. He sat with his back against the wall, rifle across his lap, his eyes never fully closing. Across from him, the alien girl Lyra watched him. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting firelight that leaked through a hole in the roof. She hadn't stopped staring at him since he carried her here. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "What are you looking at?" He muttered. She tilted her head, her long hair spilling across her shoulders. Her voice was soft, broken English, but steady. "You, different from others. Your men leave me, you save me." Daniel didn't answer. He busied himself checking the rifle, though it didn't need checking. He just couldn't stand the weight of her gaze. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant thunder of war. Then suddenly, Lyra whispered words in her own language. The sounds were strange, musical, but her tone was heavy, serious. "What did you just say?" Daniel asked. She hesitated, then searched for English words. "Old vow, between lives, you saved me, now my life yours." Daniel frowned. "That's not how it works. I saved you because I couldn't watch you die, that's it. But even..." As he said it, something inside him knew it wasn't that simple. He remembered the way she clung to him, the way her hand pressed over his heart. There was something unspoken there. Something binding. Her eyes softened, but her voice grew sharper. "No, you do not understand. My people have law. If royal blood saved by outsider, bound forever, no choice." Daniel's breath caught. The word royal echoed in his head. He had thought she was delirious before, but now he could see. The markings glowing faintly along her arms, the symbols etched into her very skin. "Royal," he repeated slowly. "You mean you're a princess?" Lyra lowered her eyes, almost ashamed. "Yes, lost princess, hunted. If enemies find me, they kill. If humans find me, they use." Her gaze lifted again, sharp and unflinching. "But you, human, you are now my consort, by law older than war." Daniel almost laughed, but no sound came. Consort? Marriage? He had risked his life to save a stranger. And now she was telling him he was tied to her forever. "You're insane," he whispered, running. A hand through his messy hair. "I'm a soldier, not whatever this is." Lyra leaned forward despite her pain, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Then why you not leave me? You could, easy, but you stay." Her words struck deeper than he expected. Why hadn't he left her? He should have, he wanted to, but the truth was. He COULDN single quotes T. Daniel looked away, but the silence only grew heavier. He felt her gaze pressing on him, testing him, binding him, and then she did something he didn't expect. She crawled forward on the mattress, slow because of her wound, until she was only inches from him. He tensed, unsure of her intent. Her hand, trembling but steady, reached out and touched his chest again, right over his heart. "You saved me," she whispered. "Now I belong to you." Daniel swallowed hard. He should have pushed her hand away, but he didn't. His pulse hammered under her palm. Before he could respond, a sound outside snapped the moment. Voices, human soldiers again. Daniel cursed. Under his breath, pulling her close against the wall. He signaled her to stay quiet, finger pressed to his lips. She nodded, her face inches from his, her breath brushing his skin. The voices grew louder. "Princess is near. Command wants her alive. If anyone's hiding her, they'll be executed." Daniel's blood ran cold. They weren't just hunting aliens anymore. They were hunting her. He pulled her even closer, his arm instinctively wrapping around her shoulders. She didn't resist. Instead, she whispered so faintly he almost didn't hear. "See? They know you cannot give me. If you do, I die." The footsteps outside scraped closer, then faded again as the soldiers moved on. But the echo of their words stayed. Command wanted her alive. Which meant if Daniel's own men discovered her with him, he was finished. When silence returned, Lyra pulled back just enough to look him in the eyes. "You see now, human, our bond not choice. Our bond, destiny." Daniel's throat was dry. He wanted to deny it, but her words cut through him. Every decision he made since the moment he pulled her from the rubble had only tied him deeper. He stared at her glowing eyes, her soft lips trembling from exhaustion, but still speaking truths he didn't want to hear. And for the first time, Daniel realized something terrifying. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. He was beginning to care. The night dragged on, heavy and restless. Daniel sat in the ruined shelter, his rifle across his knees, but his eyes kept drifting toward Lyra. She lay on the mattress, her chest rising slowly, her silver eyes half closed but never asleep. Even wounded, she seemed too alert, too aware. Daniel finally broke the silence. "You keep saying we're bound, that I'm your consort. What does that even mean?" Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, though pain shadowed her face. She shifted, pulling at the fabric that covered her shoulder. Underneath, the strange glowing markings along her skin brightened, tracing down her arm in ancient patterns. "This is law," she whispered. Her voice carried weight, like a story told countless times before. "In my people's blood, old as stars. If a royal of my line saved in battle, their savior is chosen. No matter race, no matter world, you saved me. You are marked. You cannot run." Daniel stared at the markings. They pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. He reached out without thinking, his fingertips brushing against one glowing symbol. The skin beneath felt hot, alive. For a moment, he swore the symbol pulsed in rhythm with his own heart. He pulled his hand back quickly. "That's insane. I'm a soldier. I don't even know you." Her eyes narrowed, steady and unblinking. "And yet, you carry me. You fight. For me, you hide me. Already, law works through you." Daniel shook his head, pushing to his feet. He paced across the ruined room, anger boiling beneath his skin. "You don't understand what you're saying. If anyone finds you here, if anyone sees me with you, I'm dead. Do you get that? Dead. Lyra pushed herself up slowly, her injured leg trembling. She bit back the pain, her voice sharp now. Then why do you stay? Why not leave me in rubble? Why not let me die? Daniel froze. He wanted to answer, but no words came. She leaned forward, her silver eyes locking onto his. Because law already binds you, human. Your heart knows. Even if your mind fights. He clenched his fists, struggling to breathe. He wanted to call her wrong, wanted to walk out the door and leave her behind. But when he looked at her fragile frame, the blood-soaked bandage, the way she still held herself with dignity despite the pain, he couldn't leave. Lyra saw it in his silence. Her lips curved into something softer. She whispered, words in her own language again, the sound low and melodic. When she finished, she said in broken English, old words. Marriage vow. I speak because law demands. Daniel's stomach twisted. Marriage vow? She nodded, her hair falling across her glowing skin. Yes, make me your husband. If not, I will be claimed by death. By enemy. By your own people. Her words crashed into him like a storm. He laughed, but the sound was hollow, empty. This is crazy. You're asking me to marry you? While the whole world is trying to kill us? Lyra tilted her head, her gaze steady, unwavering. Not ask. Law already decides. You only accept or run. The fire outside flared, shadows dancing. Across the ruined walls. Daniel's mind spun. Was this real? Some alien trick? Or was fate pulling him into something he didn't understand? He turned away, pressing a hand to his forehead. I can't. I don't know if I can do this. But before he could think further, shouts rang outside. Soldiers again. Their boots pounded on the street, voices sharp. The alien princess is alive. Orders are clear. Bring her back. Kill anyone hiding her. Daniel's blood turned cold. Princess. They knew. He looked back at Lyra. Her face was pale, but her eyes were calm, certain. See? She whispered. They hunt me. Only you stand between me and death. And law binds us closer with every breath. Daniel's chest tightened. He grabbed his rifle, his heart racing. He knew this was no longer just about survival. If the soldiers stormed this shelter, it would be him against his own people. He turned back to her, anger and fear mixing in his voice. You're going to get me killed. Lyra's lips trembled, but her words were clear. Or I will give you a life beyond death. Choice is yours, husband. The footsteps outside grew louder, closer. Shadows passed across the cracks in the wall. Daniel raised his rifle, his pulse hammering. This was no longer just war. This was destiny pressing down on him like a weight he could no longer escape. The night refused to rest. Outside, the ruined city groaned under fire and falling steel. But inside the shattered shelter, Daniel felt a heavier weight pressing on his chest. The choice Lyra had forced before him. She sat against the wall, her silver eyes calm despite her wound, as if she had already accepted her fate. The markings on her skin glowed faintly, like embers refusing to die out. Daniel paced the room. His mind was chaos. You don't understand, he muttered. If they find you with me, I'll be branded a traitor. My own people will put a bullet in my head before asking questions. Lyra didn't flinch. Her voice was soft, almost haunting. And yet, you still stay. He stopped, glaring at her. Because leaving you would make me no better than the ones who started this war. Her lips curved faintly. Then you know. Truth already. You are not traitor. You are protector. Before Daniel could answer, a distant sound cut through the night, a deep hum, unnatural, growing louder. He froze. That wasn't human machinery. That was alien. He rushed to the crack in the wall, peering into the smoky sky. Shapes glided overhead, sleek alien ships, scanning lights sweeping the ruins. His chest tightened. They were looking for her. Behind him, Lyra whispered, "My people return." But her tone was not relief, it was dread. Daniel turned. "Your people? Then go to them. They'll protect you, won't they?" Lyra shook her head slowly, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. "No, they want control. A princess lost is weakness. A princess returned means cage. They will not forgive my capture. They will use me until nothing left." Daniel cursed under his breath. Trapped between two enemies, his own soldiers and her people. Both wanted her. Neither cared if he lived. A sudden explosion rocked the street outside. Daniel dropped to one knee, raising his rifle. Through the smoke, he saw them. Not human soldiers, but alien hunters, armored and tall, their faces hidden behind gleaming masks. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. "They're here," he hissed. Lyra pushed herself up despite her wound, leaning on the wall for balance. "They come for me. You must run." Daniel shot her a sharp look. Run after everything? Not a chance. Before she could argue, the shelter's door exploded inward. Splinters of wood and stone filled the air as three alien hunters stormed inside. Their glowing blades hummed as they advanced. Daniel fired without hesitation. The first hunter fell, chest armor smoking. The second lunged at him, swinging its blade. Daniel ducked, barely missing death, and drove the butt of his rifle into the creature's mask, shattering glass and sending it reeling. The third turned toward Lyra. Her eyes widened, but she stood tall despite the blood seeping from her leg. The alien raised its weapon only to collapse as Daniel emptied a burst of rounds into its chest. Silence followed, broken only by the hiss of smoke and Daniel's ragged breathing. Three alien hunters lay dead. But outside, more shadows moved. More were coming. Lyra's gaze locked on him. For the first time, her voice trembled. "You fight, not only for you. You fight for me." Daniel reloaded quickly, his hands steady despite the storm inside him. "Looks like it." Her lips parted, a strange mix of fear and something softer. "Then law already lives between us." He ignored the words, though they carved deep inside him. "We have to move. Staying here is suicide." Daniel slung her, arm over his shoulder, lifting her against him once again. She gasped in pain, but her grip was strong. Clutching his uniform like she feared he'd vanish, they slipped into the ruined streets, moving through fire and smoke as alien ships prowled. Above and human patrols shouted in the distance. Every corner held death. Every step felt like stolen time. At one point, they ducked into the shell of a burned-out home. Daniel pressed her against the wall, covering her with his body as searchlights swept over the ruins. Her face was so close. To his he could feel her breath, shaky but warm. "Why you do this?" she whispered. "Why fight both sides?" Daniel's jaw tightened. He didn't look away. "Because someone has to." For a moment, silence fell. Her eyes glistened, glowing silver even in the dark. Then softly she said, "Then I choose you, not my people, not yours, only you." Before Daniel could reply, the ground shook violently. A massive shadow fell across the street as an alien war machine landed nearby, its weapons glowing hot. Lyra single quotes as hand gripped his chest. "They send stronger now. They will not stop." Daniel's mind raced. Human soldiers to one side. Alien war machines on the other. Nowhere to run. Nowhere safe. And yet, when he looked at her fragile, wounded, but unyielding, he felt a fire he couldn't explain. If the whole world wanted her, then maybe the whole world would have to go through him first. The ground trembled as the alien war machine settled into the ruined street. Its metal legs slammed against the earth, shaking windows that were already shattered. Glowing cannons swiveled, scanning the rubble with cold precision. Daniel's breath caught. He pressed Lyra back against the broken wall. shielding her with his body. The hum of the machine filled the night like thunder that refused to end. Lyra's silver eyes widened, reflecting the glow of the beast outside. "They send a reaper," she whispered. Her voice was weak, but fear sharpened each word. "One reaper can level 10 blocks. Daniel tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we don't give it the chance." Her hand caught his wrist. "No, you cannot fight it. We must move." Outside, the reaper's searchlight swept across the street, pausing over corpses of the alien hunters Daniel had killed. A metallic voice crackled from the machine, harsh and alien. Then its cannon shifted, pointing toward the shelter. Daniel cursed it under his breath. "We're out of time." He hauled Lyra to her feet, slinging her arm across his shoulder. She winced, her injured leg barely holding, but she didn't complain. Together, they slipped through the back of the shelter just as the Reaper's cannon roared. The blast tore the building apart. Fire and stone rained down behind them, heat scorching their backs. Daniel stumbled but kept moving, dragging Lyra into a narrow alley. The city had become a maze of fire and death. Human soldiers clashed with alien hunters in the distance, their weapons lighting up the smoke-filled night. Screams echoed from every direction, but Daniel and Lyra had no allies here. Every uniform, every mask, every machine, they were all enemies now. They ran, ducking through shadows, hearts racing with every step. Daniel's lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he didn't let go. He couldn't dodge at one point. A squad of human soldiers appeared ahead, flashlights cutting through the smoke. Daniel froze. If they saw Lyra, it was over. He pulled her into the ruins of an old church, pressing her down behind a cracked altar. The soldiers marched past, their voices hard. "Command wants the alien princess alive. Any human helping her execute on sight." Lyra's eyes found his in the dark. "You see? Both sides hunt me. Only you stand between." Daniel's chest tightened. He hated how true it was. The squad moved on, and the two of them slipped out again. The Reaper's booming step shook. The ground behind them, never far dot as they crossed another ruined street. Daniel noticed something strange. Lyra's skin markings glowed brighter with every step, as if reacting to danger. He glanced at her. "What's happening to you?" She leaned heavily on him, her voice soft. "I use power to hide us. My blood burns to shield. But every use weakens me." Daniel slowed, concern flashing through him. "Then stop before it kills you." Lyra shook her head. "If I stop, they find us, you die, I die. Law ends before it begins." Her words chilled him, but he said nothing. He could feel her body trembling against his, her breath shallow. She was giving herself away piece by piece, just to keep him alive. They reached the edge of the city at dawn. The horizon glowed red, not with sunrise but with fire. The ruins stretched behind them, filled with soldiers and machines still hunting. Ahead lay the borderland's dead earth, empty plains scarred by war. Daniel stopped, his chest heaving. "We made it this far, but out there, no cover. No food, nothing." Lyra leaned against the wall of a crumbled building, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Better to die free in fire than caged by chains. Her words struck something deep inside him. Before he could respond, a sudden screech split the sky. Alien. Flyers swooped overhead, scanning beams cutting across the plain. The Reaper roared behind them, its cannons charging again. No time left. Daniel lifted Lyra into his arms once more, ignoring his exhaustion, ignoring the fire in his legs. "Hold on," he growled. "We're not done yet." She clung to him, her head resting against his chest. For the first time, her voice softened not with fear, but with something else. Human. "Why you fight so hard for me?" Daniel's throat tightened. He didn't know the answer. Maybe he didn't want to know, but he found himself whispering anyway. "Because I chose you. her breath caught, her silver eyes flickering. She stared at him like his words had shifted the stars themselves, but the ground shook again. The Reaper was close. Too close. Daniel pushed forward into the burning plain, fire and smoke closing around them. Each step felt like a battle of its own. Behind them, the war machines closed in. Ahead, the unknown stretched wide and empty, and between it all, two lives, bound by law neither of them fully understood, running through fire with nothing left but each other. The sun finally broke through the smoke-filled sky, but its light did not bring peace. The plain stretched wide and empty, a wasteland of cracked earth and broken stone. No cover, no shelter. Only silence broken by the distant rumble of engines. Daniel set Lyra down behind a jagged rock, the only shade for miles. His chest burned from running, his muscles trembling. Sweat dripped from his face, mixing with dust and blood. Lyra leaned back against the stone, her silver eyes dimmer now, her glowing skin markings fading with weakness. Her breathing came shallow, each word costing her strength. "They will not stop," she whispered. Daniel crouched in front of her, his jaw tight. "Then we don't let them catch us." She smiled faintly, even through the pain. "You speak like warrior king." He shook his head. "I'm no king, just a man who made a choice." Her gaze softened, searching his face. "Then hear me. Human, last choice remains. Ancient law waits for your answer." Daniel swallowed hard. He thought he understood by now, but still, hearing it again sent a storm through his chest. "You're still talking about marriage?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, my people's law is old. If a royal saved by outsider, bond sealed only one way, with oath, with vow, without it, I fade. My blood loses meaning." Her voice faltered, her head dropping forward. Daniel caught her chin gently, lifting her face to meet his. "Don't talk like that. You're not fading, I won't let you." But her eyes told him the truth. She was slipping. Every time she had used her power to shield him, it had taken something from her. She had given too much already. "Daniel." She whispered his name for the first time, her lips trembling. "Say words, bind us, make me yours, or I die not as princess, but as nothing." Daniel's heart pounded. The weight of her request pressed heavier than any rifle he had carried, heavier than the war itself. If he spoke those words, he wasn't just saving her. He was binding his life to hers forever. Human and alien, soldier and princess. He stared at her glowing eyes, her fragile body trembling, her hand reaching weakly toward his. And he knew deep inside that he couldn't let her die here, alone and forgotten. He took her hand, pressing it to his chest, where his heart hammered. "Then listen. I don't know your ways. I don't know your gods. But I swear, I will not abandon you. Not today, not ever." Her eyes widened, light flickering bright once more. The markings on her skin flared, glowing stronger than before, wrapping her in silver fire. She gasped, her whole body trembling as if the vow had unlocked something ancient. "The oath," she whispered, her lips curving into a trembling smile. "It is done." Daniel tightened his grip on her hand, confused and awed. "What just happened?" Before she could answer, the ground shook violently. Engines roared across the plains. Human tanks rolled from the east. Alien war machines marched from the west. Both armies, converging, their weapons trained on the Fayongum. Same target. Lyra's light dimmed again, but her voice carried strength. "They come for me, for us. No turning back now." Daniel raised his rifle, standing tall in front of her. The sight of two armies approaching should have broken him, but instead, he felt strangely calm. He wasn't fighting for orders anymore. He wasn't fighting for flags. He was fighting for her. He looked back at Lyra. "Wife or not, law or not, I'll protect you. Even if it kills me." Her silver eyes shimmered, tears spilling down her cheeks. She whispered, "Then you are more than husband. You are destiny." The roar of cannons filled the air. Lights flashed across the barren ground. Daniel steadied his weapon. He could feel the weight of the world pressing against him, but Lyra's presence behind him gave him strength. The first shots lit up the horizon. Daniel's jaw set hard. His heart thundered. And as the two armies closed in, one thought burned hotter than fear. If the whole galaxy wanted her, they would have to tear her from his hand.